You learned earlier that your human nature is highly influenced by confirmation bias, which means it is natural for your perceptions to verify what you already believe. Relating back to session 6, we would say that this path to truth will most likely lead a person to think that truth is relative. This can be a major insight for us as we try to get a better understanding of the core assumptions that form our worldviews. It is more natural for you to collect data and analyze it to support what you already believe than to accept truth that is revealed. So if we are going to be able to take full advantage of the power of reliable gnosis knowledge, then we need to accept that faith often goes against our natural desire, which is to infer new truths primarily from the things we observe. Our human nature is more comfortable with the concept of seeing as believing, but letting the beliefs that come from revealed gnosis knowledge actually influence how you feel will often involve new patterns of thought. This path more likely leads a person to see truth as absolute because this approach will tend to influence you to rely on knowledge that does not come from the observable, constantly changing circumstances around you. For many people, this reliance on absolute truth would be a new and different core assumption. At this point in the course, we really want you to consider this. When you really need to know the truth, because you need to make an important decision in your life, are you more likely to end up making a bad decision because you need more observable facts, or because you are not relying on faith in the unobservable evidences that matter? I know this can be confusing, so let's go back to the example of how a compass provides guidance when you travel. If you must travel north to get to your desired destination, will you get where you want to go by going east, even if your feelings lead you to believe you are going in the right direction? Have you ever felt that the right direction was one way, but it really turned out to be another? Like stories you hear about someone confidently leading his friends through a forest in what he thinks is the right direction, only to end up going in full circle to come back to the same spot where they started. The point here is that to actually get to your destination, you must go north, regardless of what you feel is north. Believing you are going north when you are really going east will, of course, not get you to your destination. You must let the compass tell you the correct direction to go, and not your feelings. The point here is that north is north, whether we feel like it or not. We mentioned earlier in the course that airplane pilots are trained to trust their flight instruments and not what they see or feel is right. This is the same principle that we're discussing here. Later in this course, you may hear us refer to true north. When we do, we are using this term for absolute truth. Some people have pointed out that wisdom is a type of gnosis knowledge. Wisdom is in contrast to the idea of following your feelings and emotions based on your immediate circumstances. In the voices of the world around us, we can find a lot of support for the notion of believing based on how you feel, because this is natural. To help you properly hear these reliable gnosis voices, it is important to remember that our emotional feelings are not gnosis knowledge. Usually our feelings are temporary emotional inclinations based on our immediate and temporary circumstances. In contrast, some people think that wisdom is a more viable approach than following your feelings. In other words, a wise person has the ability to act on what is true, fighting off the natural tendencies to trust what he or she thinks or feels is right based on what they see at the moment. It is often evident that wisdom leads people to be successful. This is because wisdom depends on true north, which is the right direction, independent of how circumstances may make you feel. As we saw in the physically observable example, using the metaphor of traveling north and letting the metaphorical compass direct the route that you go in life rather than what you may feel is right at the moment based on circumstances. This is the concept that civilizations across the years have called wisdom. This again reinforces the question that I was asking before. When you really need to know the truth, because you need to make an important decision in your life, are you more likely to end up making a bad decision because you need more observable facts, or because you are not relying on faith in the unobservable evidences that matter? By nature, we all will go to great lengths during our life to gain all kinds of knowledge. But I would like you to think that success, what we call living the abundant and virtuous life, depends on the extent that the knowledge you trust is aligned with true north. Regardless of what your culture may say to you, you cannot live without faith. What is faith again? Conclusive evidence that you cannot observe. Like our example at the beginning of this session about drinking water. You will rely on evidence that you cannot prove over and over again in every area of life. So the pivotal question for you is not whether you will walk by faith, but what faith will you rely on? Which points back to our memory principle for this session. Faith is the evidence I cannot observe for the truth that I must act on. What you do with faith will ultimately determine the outcomes of your life, not how smart you are or how much head knowledge that you can pile up. Being certain about what you cannot see is vital. And what you are certain about determines your actions. It is either true or it is not. This is the challenge we all face in examining our core assumptions. This completes session 7. Congratulations! And in the next session, we will explore ways to find true north. For now, take a break and allow yourself some time to think about what we've been discussing. And when you are ready, we'll see you back for session 8.